Hi guys, happy Wednesday. Welcome back to Soul Spark. I'm your host, Kelly Collins, and I'm super excited to dive in today. There's so much I want to talk about with you guys. But first, we're going to start with what's going on. I just started reading this new book called Woman Code by Alyssa Vitti, and it's all about perfecting your cycle, amplifying your fertility, supercharging your sex drive, and becoming a power source. And working with the menstrual cycle is something I've been passionate about for quite a few years now. It's something I use regularly to make sure that I'm honoring my energy and my body, and it's something that I teach to my clients. And I've even done an episode on the podcast about this topic. So I'm going to link that in the show notes, and I'll also link the book if you want to check it out. It's always great to understand what is going on in your body. And as women, we've really been conditioned not to worry about it, right? Just to do what our doctor says, go on birth control and use medication to help to heal any problems like we have, like bad PMS or acne or something like that. And while birth control does have its place in the world, I'm by no means saying that it hasn't been revolutionary for women in terms of getting to decide when we want to procreate, if we want to at all. There's a lot of big downsides to it. So you really need to understand what's going on in your body, what this stuff that doctors are prescribing to us actually does to us. And then you can decide what the best option for you is, right? That's the most important piece of this all, is just being educated so you can make the most important decision, the best decision for you and your body and your life. So check those out. They'll be linked in the show notes. And what else? I put on makeup today. Haven't been doing that much lately, which I love. I always love to let my skin breathe. And I actually saw this clip from Glennon Doyle that was posted recently. Someone sent it to me, and she's just talking about how strange it is that half of the human species needs to cover our face, and how strange that is that for some reason we are not attractive enough, and it's bizarre if we don't cover our face. So as I was putting makeup on today, I was thinking about that, and it's really funny. I'll try to find that and link that in the show notes for you guys as well. It made me laugh, and at the same time, it was just like bizarre, right? Just another one of those things, like, why does half the population need to put colors on their face? That's what she says. Put colors on their face to go out into the world. Like, are we that ugly? Are we that strange looking? Yeah, check it out. I'll link it in the show notes. I'll find it for you guys. So before we dive in today into like our main topic, where we're going to talk about the first of the chakras, which is the root chakra, I want to encourage you, if you're not familiar with the chakra system, to go all the way back to episode 13. This was like a million years ago. It's when the podcast was called Woke Wellness. Go back to that episode. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts and check it out. It's just my chakra balancing 101 kind of talks. You can kind of just understand what the chakras are as a system a little bit better, but I will dive into that a little bit for you guys in just a second. So if you want to just keep listening to this right now without going back to that, you'll have a brief idea of what the chakras are. And otherwise, please, if you're loving this content, if you love this show, if you want to keep hearing more of this forever and ever and ever, please go ahead and wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to rate and review the show. obviously, I would prefer if you gave it 5 stars and click subscribe and share it with your friends and your family and anyone that you know could benefit from hearing this information, right? Share it on Instagram. Tag me at the Soul Spark Podcast and at Kelly Collins Wellness. And when you do that, it helps me to keep getting these messages out to help other people raise their consciousness and heal themselves and spark their soul and bring their gifts into the world and thus spread more joy and love in the world, right? So when you do that, it just helps me to keep going with the show, to keep growing it, and to bring on more guests for you guys and all of that good stuff. So it would mean the world to me if you could go ahead and do that before you sign off today. And with that, let's dive into today's topic. So today we're talking about the root chakra, as I mentioned. So just a brief summary of what the chakra system is. The chakras are energetic systems of the body. Chakra stands for wheel. So chakras are wheels of energy, and we have 7 main chakras, 7 main wheels, and each of these chakras represents specific physical, mental, emotional, and energetic attributes. Together, they create this beautifully comprehensive picture of the human experience. So when I first heard about the chakras, I was like, what is this? Like, this sounds like such a tangible way for me to see where I need to do healing so that I can actually begin to take steps to do that. And from that moment, which was almost 7 years ago, I dove deep into studying the system, and I continue to be so passionate about using it in my own life and sharing it with you guys and with my clients, because that initial thought I had in my head of wow, this could be such an incredible tool for me, because at that time there was so much healing I needed to do. That was a divine thought. That was my intuition speaking to me and telling me yes, this is important and this needs to be shared, and it needs to be something that is made more approachable for people to understand. So with this series that I'm going to be doing, this CHAKRAS EXPLAINED series, that's exactly what I want to do for you guys. I want to break each chakra down so you can really understand what it governs, what it is, what it represents, how you can tell if you're in or out of balance, and then what you can do to bring this chakra into greater balance so that you can do your healing with more ease. And you can know where to start. And it's really cool because all of the chakras, there's so many ways that we can help to bring them into balance, and we can really help to make them healthy, and thus we can begin to thrive even more, and we can feel more fulfilled and joyful and connected in our lives. So the root chakra is our first chakra to develop, and it's located at the base of the spine. So the chakras run from the base of your spine all the way up to the crown of your head, or right above the crown of your head. They start developing at the root chakra, the one at the base of your spine, and that begins to develop when we are in our mother's womb. And then they continue developing as we go through adolescence, which is why you have probably heard that, most of the conditioning we pick up, most of the programming we pick up, the habits and the way we view the world, that's all in place by the time we are 12 years old, maybe even earlier. So the root chakra is the first to develop from the time we are in our mother's womb until we're a year and a half, 2 years old. Okay, so during the first 2 years of life too, this is really fascinating. This is the time when our brain develops the most. So people often think oh, babies, you can do you can say whatever in front of them, you can act however in front of them. They're not going to remember. They might not logically remember, but their subconscious will remember. So the way you take care of yourself when you are nursing a child in your womb, the level of anxiety or fear or any other really heightened emotions that you have, it could be joy, right? Happiness, laughter. Your baby will feel that. So it's really, really powerful to remember this. And a great book that I read on, this early phase of our life and the influence that it has on how we experience trauma and hold on to it is called What Happened to You? It's by Oprah Winfrey. And I always forget his name. And he's a neuroscientist and a psychologist. So I will link that in the show notes for you guys as well. If you're interested in learning more about healing and the science behind it and how you can begin to actually heal from that, that's a really great tool to dive into. So anyway, the root chakra begins developing then. And the root chakra is our most earthly material chakra. It's the densest in energy. The chakras go from densest at the root to the lightest at the crown. And so it's like the heaviest, the densest chakra. It's governed by the color red. So we often associate the root chakra with the color red. And it governs our physical experience. So it governs how we feel safe and secure in this physical experience that we are having on this planet. So if we feel like we have enough sustenance, enough food, enough water, enough shelter, if we feel connected to our body, if we feel connected to the earth. And I'm going to do a second part on this next week, talking about the importance a little bit more of our connection with the earth and the root chakra. But there's a lot of root chakra imbalance today, and the biggest piece of this is because we are so disconnected from Mother Earth. We are extremely disconnected from the earth at this point, with the rise and the growth of cities over the last couple hundred years. And not only has this affected us mentally and emotionally, right, but it's having extreme, horrible effects on the planet and thus on humanity. And I'm going to be diving deeper over the coming weeks of, giving you guys tangible tools to start living more sustainably, because I found in a lot of conversations lately, right? There's a lot going on in the world. I've been having a lot of conversations with people about sustainability. Everything out there is really confusing. So I really want to break it down for you guys to make it more tangible. And this directly relates to our root chakra. If we have, unnatural disasters going on all the time in the planet, and if those get increasingly worse as the climate warms, we are going to feel less safe. We are going to have more fear, more uncertainty. There is going to be more drought, more famine. More and more people on this planet are going to be experiencing root chakra imbalances because they will be experiencing these extreme conditions that will deeply affect how they feel safe and secure and stable and supported on this planet. So really what the root chakra governs, just to recap it real quick, is how we feel safe and secure and stable in our physical experience. So if this chakra is in balance, right, we have a healthy relationship with our body. We have a healthy relationship with food. We have a healthy relationship with our finances. We have physical health, with our body. We have financial health. We, might feel fear, but we don't live based off fear. We can see fear, let ourselves feel it, and then we can, let it go and still move forward with courage. If we're out of balance in our root chakra, a lot of things can happen. And it's important to note that chakras can be out of balance in two ways. One way is they're deficient in energy. So they're blocked in energy. So they might be moving really slow or like barely at all, like they're stuck. On the other end of the spectrum, they might be excessive and moving really fast. So they can be going either way. And what happens when it's developing can have a huge impact on this. But what can also happen is, as after we've passed adolescence, if something traumatic happens, and it's important to note that trauma is subjective, right? Or objective. I always use that word wrong. A specific trauma can be small to one person and big to another, right? And the past programming of someone can really affect the way that someone responds to a particular trauma and how they internalize that. So that's just really important to remember that, a trauma that's huge to me might not seem like that big of a trauma to you. But nonetheless, when we experience trauma at any point in our life, it can cause a blockage in any of the chakras just based on what that trauma is, how we perceive it, and how we internalize it. So when this chakra is slow or deficient in energy, when it's underactive, we might feel really heavy. We might feel really sluggish and slow. We might have trust issues, right? We don't trust that we are supported. We don't trust that we are going to be taken care of. We might have commitment issues because of these trust issues. We might have a disconnection from our body in terms of overeating. And I'm going to talk about the sacral chakra in a couple weeks, but you'll see how they begin to play off of each other. But we might, overeat because we're numbing our fear. Fear is really like the shadow of the root chakra. And this overeating and this disconnection to our body in this way can lead to obesity. This chakra being really slow can also lead to us like hoarding things, right? Because we don't trust that we're going to have enough. So we start to hoard things. Think of, when the pandemic first started, how people were like hoarding toilet paper. It's because they were fearful and they didn't trust that there was going to be enough toilet paper coming into the stores anytime soon. So they started to hoard it. So that's like a perfect example of like something shaking people up, people experiencing all of this fear and uncertainty and like not trusting that they're going to be supportive. So then they start to like hoard. And at the same time, if you think about it, a lot of people began to overconsume like food and alcohol while they were sitting at home, when we were all in shelter in place, and people were just kind of like overconsuming because they were numbing their fear and their like lack of trust with the situation. And this numbing of our emotions really comes from our sacral chakra. So that's kind of how they play off of each other. But when the root chakra, on the other hand, is overactive, so it's like spinning too fast, we might feel, that heightened sense of fear, as you can also feel with the underactive chakra. We might feel a lot of anxiety. So when it's underactive, think of like that, like frantic, anxious energy that comes from an overactive root chakra. And anxiety is so prevalent in society today, right? With the disconnection to our body, we might experience, disconnection on the other end, not fueling our bodies, not nourishing our bodies enough, being underweight, maybe even anorexic, feeling like flighty or spacey, restless, unable to sit still. If you think about it, like that all kind of goes with anxiety, right? We might excessively spend money, have trouble holding on to money as it comes in. And we might have difficulty manifesting. And when it comes to manifestation, all manifestation really is something coming into reality, right? So we always think of manifestation as like, oh, I'm like wishing for things and hoping they come in. Everything that you see around you is a manifestation. In your own life, you are either manifesting what you want or what you don't want. And you are manifesting at all times. So when our root chakra is overactive, we can't bring our desires down into the physical plane where they become manifested because we are so like frantic and flighty and anxious and fearful, right? So as you can see, they're kind of like two ends of the spectrum. Underactive is really like slow and heavy, and overactive is really like flighty, anxious, fearful, all of that. I mean, they both stem from fear. You get it. So something I forgot to mention before too is that all the chakras have a element. And going back to kind of what I talked about earlier, the element of the root chakra is the earth. So like I said before, our disconnection from the earth plays a huge role in why so many people have root chakra imbalances today. So that's why if you go for a walk in nature, it is so grounding and it is so healing. And you just feel like you're more in balance, right? So I'm a huge fan of going for a nature walk as often as possible. I try to do it once a week. It doesn't have to be like you're going on a crazy hike, right? Just find like a park somewhere with like green and trees and like where you can get away, like leave your phone in the car, put your phone on airplane mode if you need the clock, but like leave the technology behind and immerse yourself in nature. That can also mean going to the beach or going out in the desert, right? But just letting yourself connect with the earth. So with that, ways that we can really balance our root chakra include one, going out in earth or in nature, right? Reconnecting with the earth, like I just mentioned. This is good for either type of imbalance with your root chakra. Either way, it's going to bring you back to equilibrium. Other ways are nourishing your body with healthy, nutritious, grounding foods, right? Like root veggies, potatoes, carrots, beets, protein. And as you guys know, if you've been listening to the show for a long time, I eat plant-based, but you can still get good protein through nuts, through tofu, organic tofu, through beans and lentils and, eating rice and beans, like just eating really grounding food that's going to help you to feel really solid in your experience. And if you think about these foods, right, root veggies have been given such a bad rap. And I'm telling you, that's like what I like live off of. And it makes me feel amazing. And it has not made me gain weight and all of that stuff. So either way, right, whether you're feeling sluggish and you need to feel lighter, or you're feeling like famished and you need to feel more like solid and grounded, these types of foods are going to help your body be in balance. It's not going to make you feel extremely one way or the other. Also, my favorite thing to like consume food-wise for feeling grounded with my root chakra is to drink cacao. So I have like raw ceremonial grade cacao every morning. I set my intention into it. I sip it like before and after my meditation, and it helps me to just start my day feeling super like connected with my body and with the earth and really intentional. It's really powerful. Another way that you can balance your root chakra is through just really connecting with your body through movement. So like a slow vinyasa flow or hatha yoga, allowing yourself to just really tune into your body, move your body in a way that allows you to like really feel into it as you are moving. So that can mean weightlifting too, right? We're strengthening our physical body. We're strengthening our muscles. Just make sure that as you're exercising and moving your body, you're focused on your body, so you're not distracted. And it's okay to listen to music, but if you're doing that, just make sure you're still able to really tune into your body, tune into your breath. So leading to number 4, breath work. So doing breath work is really powerful for balancing many of the chakras. For the root chakra specifically, doing what's called the wave breath or the 3-part breath is super powerful for just grounding you, bringing you back into your body, and balancing out your nervous system, which I'm going to touch on in just a moment because that has a big thing to do with the state of our root chakra as well. And number 5, you can do affirmations. So I love affirmations for all of the chakras. I love using affirmations for really helping ourselves to rewire our brain in any way that we need to. So if you realize that you have conditioning within your root chakra, for example, I can't hold on to money, right? This conditioning that you picked up because maybe in your childhood, and I'm saying this example because this is something I've had to work through. So maybe in your childhood, things were up and down financially, or maybe you lived in poverty. So to you saw your parents handling money in a way where, sometimes they'd have it, sometimes they wouldn't. They'd spend kind of whatever seemed to come in, and then sometimes there wasn't enough to do certain things that you wanted to be able to do as a child, right? So maybe you took that conditioning and you brought that into your root chakra and into your subconscious, and now as an adult, you've had to work through this conditioning that's there that tells you you're not good with money. No one taught you how to be good with money. You're not capable of holding on to money. So what you can do when you realize that you have a story like that within you, within your energy system, within your subconscious, is you can choose an affirmation that will help you to rewrite that story. So what's going on with that story is that we have these neural pathways that are like well-worn roads in our brain. And maybe you have this well-worn road of a neural pathway that's saying, I'm not good with money. I can't hold on to money, right? That's very excessive root chakra. So instead, you create an affirmation that says, I am good at holding on to money, or I am supported and abundant in my financial needs. And you repeat that affirmation as you meditate, or whenever you see that story coming up and popping into your mind, you stop it and then you repeat that mantra that you created, or that affirmation that you created to yourself. And what happens is you create a new road. And then that road, the more and more you repeat that affirmation, the road gets more well-worn. And then eventually your mind automatically goes to this new road instead of that old road. So that's how these affirmations work. There's science that backs it up. You can read many books on it. My favorite is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. But when you do these affirmations, you rewire your brain, you rewire your subconscious, and you bring your energetic system back into balance. So you can kind of see there how the mind, the body, and the energy, the soul, work together. So other affirmations that are really good for your root chakra are, I am safe and supported in my body and on this planet. I am grounded. I am grateful for my life on this earth. I have a right to be here. I am safe, supported, and secure. I am Mother Earth, and she is me. There's so many that you can choose for this. Again, it's important to look at what aspects of imbalance are really showing up for you, and then what kind of affirmation can you create for yourself that's the opposite of whatever that conditioning is, whatever you're experiencing. And I'm going to link my chakras healing freebie in the show notes. So if you guys want to download my free PDF, it has a breakdown of all of this stuff for you guys, so you can really see it in front of you. So just going back to a little bit more about the basics of the root chakra before we wrap it up. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the element is earth that it's associated with. The color is red. So you can always do color therapy where if you realize there's a chakra that really needs to be worked on, you can wear the color or surround yourself with the color of that chakra. Every single one of our chakras is associated with specific physical parts of our body. So for this one, it's the sciatic nerve, the legs, the feet, and the adrenal glands. So I told you I was going to talk a little bit about the nervous system. Our adrenal glands are the glands of our body that release the hormones cortisol and adrenaline. If you've ever heard of burnout or adrenal fatigue, it's because you have been so stressed out for so long that your adrenal glands have been releasing so much of these heart-pumping hormones that it gets basically burnt out and can't produce them anymore, and then you are just exhausted. We have, with our nervous system, two ends of the spectrum. We have our fight or flight, which is also known as our sympathetic nervous system. And we have our rest and digest, which is also known as our parasympathetic nervous system. And at all times, we're on, one end of the scale. We can be more towards fight or flight, more towards rest and digest. But because we live in a very stressful, fast-paced modern world, most people are veering on the side of the fight or flight. And this nervous system, was created when we were ancient human beings, when we first came into being, right? And it was created to help us escape from predators or fight off predators. And we are only meant to be in that state for a brief period of time to fight or flight away from our predators, and then we would be able to come back in to that parasympathetic end of the spectrum, that rest and digest side, where our bodies function in their best capacity. So when we're calm, when our nervous system is calm and we're towards that rest and digest end of the scale, our digestion is functioning properly. Our reproductive organs are functioning properly. Our blood pressure and our heart rate are at a regulated pace. Our breath is deep and calm. Our immune system is functioning fully. When we go towards that fight or flight part of the spectrum, all of those main systems of the body slow down or halt completely because all of the blood goes out of our core and into our limbs so that we can we can fight or we can flight, right? And at that time, our blood pressure goes up, our heart rate goes up, the adrenal glands start pumping out adrenaline and cortisol. So again, we can fight or flight. And if we are now in the modern world and we are always stressed out, our body doesn't know the difference between, perceived danger mental danger and actual physical danger. So it doesn't matter if we're actually like in physical harm, or if we're in physical harm's way, or if it's just, chronic stress from our job, or from, taking care of our family and not getting enough rest and taking care of ourselves. Our body doesn't know the difference. So that's why most of us end up on this, far end of the spectrum in fight or flight. And that affects our adrenal glands, which, if our adrenal glands aren't functioning properly because they've been burnt out, that is going to affect our root chakra. So this is just a really good example of how, physical situations can affect the balance of our energy. Mental, emotional situations in the form of trauma can also affect our emotional energy, and then that can affect our physical energy. So all three parts play a role: the mind, the body, and the energy, and they all affect one another. So it might start in the body, but it'll manifest into how we feel energetically, and then it'll manifest into what we're thinking in our mind, like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm like, feel so sluggish. Oh, I'm going to numb this stress and these emotions by eating and consuming and drinking and watching TV or whatever. So it just has this domino effect, right? So by just being able to really understand each individual chakra, you can really see where you're at. And then you can start to use some of these tools that I gave you today to start to bring it into balance. And it's going to affect you on all three aspects: your mind, how you feel, your body, how you feel, and your energy, how you feel. I'd also like to note that there are, crystals you can use, essential oils you can use, that just to help, bring that chakra into balance a little bit more and help you to connect with it a little bit more. So that will all be in the freebie that I told you I'll put in the show notes. So that'll all be in there. And with that, I want us to end today with a very short grounding meditation. And if you're driving, as always, you can go along with these meditations. You want to make sure you're still eyes on the road, driving safely, but you can still listen to it and you'll get something out of it. But I definitely recommend, playing it again later when you are somewhere where you can close your eyes and fully tap in. So we're going to begin by sitting up nice and tall. If you're in a chair, take your feet hips width distance apart. And just feel your feet on the floor. You can kind of move them around side to side. Lift your heels and then your toes. And then settle into stillness. If you're sitting in a cross-legged position, just make sure you feel the base of your spine on the surface beneath you. Place your palms on your thighs facing down. And if you're in a place where it's safe to do so, close your eyes. Tune into your breath. Feel the breath coming in through your nose, flowing down the back of your throat, filling up your lungs. Feel the breath leaving your lungs, flowing up the back of your throat and out of your nose. As you inhale, begin to bring the breath down deep into your belly, down into your pelvis. Feel your belly and your lower back expand. As you exhale, just feel the belly and lower back soften as the breath releases. Continue moving through that on your own. Inhaling deep down into your belly. And gently letting the breath go. Feeling the weight of your body get a little bit heavier. Go ahead and breathe out all the way, and then we're just going to add on. Inhale deep into your belly, and then feel your ribs expand. Continue to press your belly out. And as you exhale, soften first from your ribs, and then your belly, letting all the breath go. Inhaling deep into your belly, and then your ribs. Exhaling from your ribs, and then your belly. One more like that. Inhaling belly, ribs. Exhaling ribs, and then belly. Adding on, inhale deep into your belly, and then your ribs, and then your heart space. Feel your chest and your upper back expand. Exhale first from your heart, and then your ribs, and then your belly. Two more like that. Inhale belly, ribs, heart. Exhale heart, ribs, belly. One more. Inhale. Exhale. Continue with slow, deep breathing, just not forcing it. Feel the shift in your energy, a deeper state of calm and ease, relaxation. And then begin to visualize from either the bottoms of your feet or the base of your spine, tree roots growing out of that space, the tips of the roots piercing down through the top of the earth. And then watch as those roots grow deeper and deeper, going down and down through each layer of the earth, spreading out wide, crisscrossing, branching off, until the ends of the roots reach the molten core of the earth. Feel these roots connecting you to our Mother Earth, grounding you. Feel how supported and stable you are. And know that these roots are pathways through which you can release any stories, conditioning, stagnant or excess energy that is keeping you from having a balanced root chakra. Breathe here and allow any of these stories or conditioning or excess or deficient energy to release down the roots and into the earth. And don't worry, once that energy is released from you into the earth, it will be brought all the way down to the center, the molten core of the earth, where that energy will be transmuted and sent back to the collective energy pool. 2 more breaths right here, just letting anything go that's no longer serving you. Take a big, deep breath in, fill up to the top. Big open mouth exhale. Place your palms over your heart. Tuning inward, connecting with your energy, and just feeling any subtle shifts in your mind, your body, or your soul. Taking your time when you're ready, blinking your eyes open and coming back. And that is all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this information really helpful in your life. And again, if you know that it will be powerful for anyone to hear, please share it. And I will catch you guys next week. Until then, take care of your mind, your body, your soul. Live each day as intentionally as possible. And spread love. And spread your gifts, because Lord knows the world needs it. All right, you guys. I'll catch you here next week. Lots and lots of love. Mwah. Namaste.